Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy CLT here, casting over a series that was played yesterday. I did tell these teams that I was did I seriously? Look, anybody who's gotten a message from me knows if I when I type, I misspell everything under the sun. Screw it. I'll let that one just live. But yeah, I see yes, Victor, your heckling is completed now. So, but back to this. We had a series that I promised was going to cast last night, but they went long into a three-game series, and Hidden Leaf plus TLT was starting just right then and there. So I'll try to be a man of my word, and I will cast over the series tonight. So this is a series featuring BucketJonBets, which I argue is probably one of the better names we've had in here, and UAFS Esports. Features, again, two new teams that are new to the league here. And Iman, I would believe, is the AD carry, yes, sent me the drafts here. So just want to touch on the draft. There is some things in the draft that uh, don't come out that often. I mean, everybody's told me how absolutely broken Gwen is. So you see B1 Gwen after some bans coming out from both sides. Lulu Yone, and then I believe they might have missed a ban because of a sub. I'm not sure the context of that one. UAFS bans Syndra, Silas, Rakan here. Anybody who's played against a good Silas knows get that off the table. It's an absolute pain in the ass to deal with. So we see sorry. We see Gwen B1 coming in here, one of the turbo OPs from what I'm hearing around the league. It's just a champion so dumb after this rework. See Caitlyn Wukong and then a Jinx Milio. So Jinx plus Enchanter, really good bot lane duo, especially with Lulu off the table. I think Milio kind of sneaks his way up as one of the second best enchanters. And then we see Cho'Gath coming out. We've already seen Cho'Gath earlier yesterday as well have a pop off. Sorry, I don't quite remember the team, but popped off real well. Then we see a Lux Braum ban, so probably getting rid of the super annoying supports that they don't want to deal with. And UAFS bans the Vi, which I thought was interesting. I mean, Vi loves to go in, but there's not really another diver showing here. Like when Jinx Milio, you're already kind of wanting to scale and play team fights front to back. So banning the Vi here was quite interesting. Unless that was 1, 2, 3 bans coming out the other way here. It could be. Could have very well been. So um, then we see uh, Galio come out, and then Cassante Cassio. Cassante's not a champion I see that often, but also showing Cassante here with Cho'Gath showing tells me Gwen's going to go jungle, and then Cassio has been a pretty good answer to Galio for the most part. She can push him around in lane and doesn't really care about how tanky he gets. I mean, her DPS is still pretty high. But UAFS gives the Soraka, so the Caitlyn Soraka is quite an interesting lane. Everybody's here to heckle me. So, but that is kind of our draft here for game one. So let me boot up the replay here. And pull up the Twitch chat just so you guys can continue to heckle me. Already seen some interesting things. No flash on Gwen is kind of standard. Cho'Gath with the Hail of Blades. I believe that's what I seen yesterday. or it might have been Arcane Comment. Galio with Electrocute is also quite interesting, so kind of telling me that this could potentially be an offensive Galio. But we'll see how this ends up going here. So turn off time controls so no one gets spoiled here.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
But the Halo Blades also makes me think it could potentially go like an AP Cho'Gath route. But we'll see.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
There we go. Sorry, hitting the wrong key here. So, like I said, these are two new teams to the league. I don't, none of these names even really look familiar. At least not to myself, unless they've changed. But I do think the Soraka kind of stands out. It's not a champion that I see too often. But I guess if you're going to go down the list of enchanters, once you ban Lulu and then take Milio, like she's kind of the next up. But I think Caitlyn wants a little more pressure out of her supports, especially in the laning phase, to where I think sometimes Soraka's just kind of there to be a heal bot until she can, start stacking up the healing, shielding powers. Then I think she can get more offensive with Qs. But we'll see how this ends up going. So Sunflower doing what he can, range versus melee. But we see a level 2 coming in from Cassante here, but Cho'Gath ends up getting that level 2 as well. Bot lanes trade level 2s here. Nice Cuke coming out of Cho'Gath here. And Namus taking a bullet of damage here. That was a pretty gutsy E forward here. And I see Gwen on 0 farm here. I didn't quite catch what happened. Did she forget items? Interesting. Just, oh, interesting. Gwen went back. Don't 100% know why, but so Gwen gets a super. The blue buff was deadly. But could she not do blue without a pot? I eat over the wall too early and it didn't die. Oh, that's such a feels bad. Okay, well, appreciate the insight there. I did not catch that. I'm just kind of watching the action here and looking down at the CS as I kind of glance to. I see 4-16. So yeah, okay. Well, I mean, shit happens. This is why I don't jungle, because I'd have probably done the same thing. But we see Cho'Gath with the D-ring start is able to poke down most tanks here. Put a fork in it. Well, definitely didn't put a scissor in it. Yeah, that's all of my comedy there. I'll shut up. So, but all in all, we see just a touch of a CS lead coming to bot lane, but the wave's coming back here, so she's gonna get about 4 back on the counter here. I do think red side has probably a little bit better prio on the drag He definitely has the tempo since Jungler was a little behind. It looks like actually they had a little bit of a pause in there too, which is fine. It happens. So one thing I do like about replays is it just kind of skips over the pauses, unlike real time. But I'm really curious with this electrocute on the Galio if he's just gonna go like an AP one-shotty type build. So I'm curious to see what direction that goes. This Cho'Gath is putting in some work on this Cassante here, especially with the Q pokes. I see tank coming out of Galio here, so that is it's interesting then to take electrocute but still go tank. But we see Gwen look top lane but got sighted out by this ward here. Ends up sweeping it, sees that there is in fact a ward there. So with Gwen showing top, red side has a really good tempo to get this dragon here. We do see the symbiotic souls coming out of Cho'Gath on his first back. So going for the movement speed on Cho'Gath. So they did nerf that build quite a bit, but it's very, very useful. For the first time, we've seen the electrocute come out, but Sunflowers end up trading back quite heavily here. I think this is a pretty good spot, honestly, to not only pick the Cassio, but definitely go the more scaling build. You see that the top side of the map for Red Squad still needs a little bit of time to scale here, especially like Cho'Gath Galio, so Cassio can match that scaling and doesn't have to, the tempo's not going to be increased enough, so I think it's really, really good of her. Roa definitely got some really good changes here. And Cassio is kind of the one that uses the tankier stats quite well. Not on like Swain's level, but definitely better than say something like Ace Olivia, because she is so short range. This Cho'Gath is kind of bopping around this Cassante a little bit. See what happens if things change once he gets a little bit of MR. I will say with the first dragon being Chem Tech, that increases the healing and shielding powers. You know, having that on something like Cho'Gath passive that gives him health and mana every time he kills a minion, and stuff like Soraka, that's actually pretty useful in the laning phase overall. Also, you got the Wukong passive as well, so while it's only the first Drake, and it is very minuscule in the grand scheme of things, this team comp can utilize it quite well. We see Caitlyn keeping the pressure up in bot lane, but Jinx is doing pretty well keeping a lot of this CS, keeping it hers instead of losing it to the turret here. Yeah, it's a move speed show build. I think that's the other thing, right, didn't think about on these changes. By changing TP to be like more of a long distance like dash or movement channel instead of like an actual like teleport blink, they charge up symbiotic souls during the TP, if I'm not mistaken. So, but we might see an all-in coming from this Cho'Gath here. Oh, and he misses the Q here, but ends up getting the first blood here once his E came back up. Flash E, nom nom on the Cassante here. So Cho'Gath drawing first blood in this game here. Cho'Gath not using this tempo to back here. He's just gonna start proxying here and let this wave die off to the turret. He's gonna head on back, get the enhanced recall here. Oh no, K'Sante stops the recall. Even though K'Sante's chasing, he's missing most of this wave here. Already dropped half a wave and then missed about 3 of it to get more minions. But see some damage coming out of Galio here with that electrocute. We see Wukong starting up the grubs here. He actually takes all 3 uncontested here, so red side ends up getting all 3 grubs, which I think that's the team comp that definitely wants, especially the early grubs with someone that pushes real fast like Caitlyn. And Sunflower doing everything he can to trade back on this Galio, but she just doesn't. Cassio just doesn't have the mana to keep committing to these long trades. So he does have about a 10 CS lead, got the Roa, pretty good time frame. So this row is gonna start stacking. Already got 1 stack on it, so bought it just about at the 10-minute mark. Now this Cho'Gath's just permanently pushing this K'Sante here. Cassio's keeping the pressure up, but this Galio's building more MR, and this Hollow Radiance helps him with the wave clear. So it's he can even out the lane into Cassio quite easily. Cut the miasma field a little short there off the Galio engage. So we see red side now looking to stack these Drakes pretty quickly. Cho'Gath ends up nomming that Drake as well. So Cho'Gath now having 2 non-minion stacks here. Yeah, Champions Devoured was 1. Epic Monsters, Dragon. So he hasn't even chomped a single minion here. So he must have chomped one of the grubs that we missed. But we see Gwen coming up here. See what Cho'Gath can do here to stall, but here comes Galio turning it around. Oh, but Cassio puts the grounded field in, stops the Galio ult. See, Cho'Gath and Gwen are trying to... I'm sorry. K'Sante and Gwen trying to fight out this fight, but we had Galio coming up the river. Oh, but a nice ult coming from the bot lane here from Jinx to snipe off that kill. So Jinx ends up getting himself a kill here. And with Soraka going back, gets a plate as well. So all in all, that ended up being a 1-for-1. Oh, but Cho'Gath is going to end up falling to the turret here. So now we're equaled up 2-2 in kills. Though blue side does have roughly about a 200 gold lead here. Red side though sitting on Dragon, so trying to speed the tempo of this game up, put it on a little bit of a timer here, knowing you got Cassio, Jinx, Gwen, that they don't want to see this get to like late game status here. So I think if red squad can get this 3rd Drake, it really puts a lot of pressure on this blue side. see the Void Grobs have spawned here. Let's see which team wants to take this out. I do think it's on blue side to try and get at least all 3 of them, but if not, at least 2 of them, just to stem the bleeding a little bit. But Wukong is showing bot side here, so Gwen is on this Grubs here, pretty much unscathed, uncontested here. So big chunks taken out here from the Jinx as her attack range got increased in Amelia W. So really nice trading there from both bot lanes. Really nice traps from the from the Jinx to prevent Wukong from advancing any further. See Cassante starting to push his choke back a little bit now that he's finished up some MR items. He's sitting on Hollow Radiance and even has another Null Magic Mantle in his inventory here. Which I think if he just goes Merc Treads here, the MR boots, I think that's going to be plenty of early MR here. He's going to have to start stacking some armor because overall, Red Side team comp doesn't have a lot of magic damage. I could argue really not much at all. It's just mainly coming out of Cho'Gath here. So Feats of Strength has not been picked up yet. Combat Feats hasn't even been picked up as this is still a 2-2 game. So whoever gets the next kill will end up getting the combat feats for first 3 kills. This is a pretty slow-paced game compared to what I've seen last night. You see Rift Herald coming out here from blue side here. That's going to be two counters for epic monster takes, but actually red side already has that because they got both dragons and 3 grubs. So red side already has the feats for epic monsters here. If red side gets the 3rd kill before blue side, that is feats of strength going over. As the only other feat that can be claimed is first turret. Really nice ghost there from Jinx. Didn't overly panic or anything of the sort. But red side's going to end up trying to stack this 3rd Drake. You do got Cho'Gath up here. Blue side is going to take first turret here. So basically it is now 1-1 on the feats. Whoever gets the 3rd kill here will complete the feats of strength requirement. You see Cho'Gath TPing top. I think this is a pretty risky TP here. But Galio comes in here. Let's see who ends up falling first here. Cho'Gath ends up dodging a lot. Oh, but Cassante comes in, leaves him really low. And blue team gets feats of strength there with that 3rd kill. So, big on the blue side here to get completed feats of strength. They get the upgraded boots here, which I think is pretty big for them, honestly. The more free stats you can get as the scaling comp, which you don't have to pay for, just the better that it is. Though Cassio doesn't get boots. So she gets enhanced movement speed from her passive. Slush guy's good on Cassandra. Yeah, I mean, you know, unfortunately got solo killed there in the early game, but he's playing his Cassandra quite well. And I feel like Cassandra is, I forget who said it, but he's almost like the barrier to entry as far as like being a really good competitive champ in top lane. Like if you can move around Cassandra quite a bit, like you can be played in quite a few different situations top lane. So let's see, Cassandra still doesn't have all. That's Shirelios. getting popped here, but Casante is going to end up pushing both of them back. But I don't think he really has much kill pressure with Soraka there either. We see Gwen getting jumped on here by Wukong, and oh my goodness, the Gwen Q did so much. The Jinx ult comes in as well. Gwen gets a shutdown on the Wukong. Quite interesting. Wukong had a shutdown there. You see that, right? Yeah. Wukong had a shutdown. And Jinx ends up getting the double kill there as well, taking out the Cho'Gath. So 3 for none. And Casper ends up spawning top side here. As the mid laners are still just fine to just scale. I mean, we see Sunflower on his Cassio 10 CS a minute is putting on a clinic on farming here. Galio did some decent damage there, but Cassio's now like pretty, I don't want to say fed, but she's got her 2 core items here, so she has enough mana to sit here and chop down this big tree. Nice dodge there by Nomsus. We see Red Squad trying to come down and support the Galio here. So I'm gonna start to think he hemorrhages in some waves here to Cassio. She's gonna be able to start pushing him around quite a bit here in this mid game. I don't think these two can do anything to this Casante here. He's stacking a boatload of armor. Honestly, I don't think Wukong does anything here. Casante does ult the Wukong clone. But Caitlyn comes up, gets the shutdown here, but they also donate this bot lane tier 2 here. And Jinx is going to start sieging on this mid lane tier 2. Oh, but we see a face check coming out from Soraka here. Runs into the Cassio ult. And we see Gwen now also trying to front to back this fight here. She's pretty massive. You see Cassio ends up taking out Wukong here. Cho'Gath ends up putting himself in the mix. Casante is going to TP in. There's a double kill coming out for Gwen. But Cho'Gath ends up nomming her below the turret. And it ends up being a 2 for 3 in favor of blue side. Casante just kind of doing what he does, being able to push other tanks around here. Ends up flashing out. You see the Shirelius coming out of Cho'Gath. His ult's not up yet, but I think they can chip away at this. But we see the Melio come in trying to prevent Casante from falling, but it's just too little too late there in regards to that. We do see the Hextech Drake going over to blue side, so they're going to start stacking Drakes as well. We see the Void Staff coming out from Cassio. I really do love the Void Staff, since a majority of their damage is magic. Anybody who's building in Mars, she's going to try and just cut right through it. But we do see red team on Otacon here. Blue team's coming up to try and defend. See what happens. Oh, big miasma field coming out of Gwen here. And we see, oh my goodness, the Gwen ult putting in so much work. Soraka ult does help out the healing. Uh, Galio does come in, and Cho'Gath ends up nomming the Jinx, and that is Otacon going over to Red Squad in the middle of that fight as well. Oh, Cassante, what are you doing, my boy? The Caitlyn's doing quite a lot of damage to him. But you see, he ends up going out, and Caitlyn's Hess shot, Iman ends up taking him down. So, kind of taking a little stock here as Caitlyn takes this tier 1 off the mid lane. You see 3 items coming out for the Cho'Gath. 2 items on both junglers, though Gwen is pretty close to her death cap. 3 items on the Cassio in favor of 2 on Galio. Both ADs are at around 2.5 items. Caitlyn, though, elected not to upgrade the... Okay, there's the Berserker Grease. So she ended up going another component, the Mortal Reminder, to finish off the Berserker Grease. Jinx ends up having 2 items. Looks like she's going for potentially a Phantom Dancer here. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure on ADC itemizations. But looks like build path towards either Phantom Dan or Sir Ruden's. So, but I think we're going to see a little bit of a slowdown point to this until the next dragon comes up here in about 2 minutes. Well, I say that, and Cassio is just doing anything she can against this Galio. Galio does end up walking away here, so... Oh! Well, good on the Jinx ult to actually, like, hit. That was pretty nice aiming there, overall. We see Cassante getting jumped on here. But while they do that, I'm sorry, mid lane got jumped on here, so ends up being cross map 1-for-1 here as Iman gets taken down by the Jinx Milio combo. But with Cho'Gath bot lane here and no TP, blue side has enough tempo to start up this Baron here. So we'll see if Wukong can get in there. They do have a warded, but he's unable to get there, so Hextech Gates will get you there pretty quick, but not quick enough. So that is Baron going over to blue side, which I think is pretty massive here, as it's still, you know, they want to see this game go super late. Baron allows them to let this game get to, you know, that 32, 35 minute mark. But I say that we do have the next Drake coming up. You see Cho'Gath kind of getting jumped on after trying to use some vision tricks there. Galio ends up going in. We see Gwen immuning a lot of damage, but a big miasma field coming out here. And you see Cassante in the middle of all of it. Now Jinx has a reset, which is massive for this fight here. So they're going to end up taking down the Soraka here. Let's see if they keep going further here. And Iman ends up falling as well to this Jinx. So really, really nice miasma field to stop everybody from advancing forward. And then Jinx was able to just start free firing here. She's already completed this Ruden's Hurricane. So when they group up, she's hitting a lot of people with a lot of damage here. And spreading also the Milio passive as well. So you see Dragon going over to blue side. They do pick up tier 2 mid. And I think it's this blue comp has finally hit their stride. They're online. Their carries have got 3 items. Cassante's tanky enough to frontline just about anything. Oh, but we see Loki's back ends up getting stopped here. He does Cassante ult over the wall here. We see the double ult coming out for there, and Leshy, sorry, ends up falling here in what was a pretty greedy recall. But we see Casio getting taunted here. But there is a Jinx Milio right behind. Milio had to get burned because of the trap. Cho got TPing in and then kind of resetting back out with the Shirelias. I mean, this Caitlyn's still putting out very respectable damage here. You know, they took a headshot there to the Gwen, took about a quarter of her health. I see Leandry's completed here on Casio. I do respect the fact that it didn't go Rylai's here, seeing that most of the melee comps just want to run at you. In this case, the Cho, Wu, Galio, that I don't think you really need Leandry's. Like, they just keep wanting to run forward. So slowing them to stay in range of them is not really needed. But could it be a chance at a Rylai's coming in 5th item here? We'll see. So, we do have next Dragon in 2.5, Baron in about 2 minutes as well. So we'll see what happens here. I think red side definitely needs to get some setup on this Dragon. With the spawn timers being close, but not too close. They're going to have to try and force red side into, blue side into making a decision here. Blue side doesn't want to give up soul, but it is Hextech soul does pretty well with everybody on their team, so definitely don't want to give that over. But maybe there's a world where like Gwen, Milio, Gwen, Cassante can maybe like 2-man Baron, while the core 3 of Milio, Jinx, Casio are trying to at least put up a stable line in the sand for this dragon fight. So we'll see. Looks like red side's trying to get a little bit of a brush cheese going here. Caitlyn hasn't had the greatest chance of putting in like a trap line, so it's dangerous to enter here. That's a massive hit from this Dead Man's Plate Shogath. We see both teams fighting for position on this dragon. Note this dragon's not here for another 40 seconds. They're going forward onto this Galio. But they end up jumping onto the 2-man squad down here. Sunfire's trying to kite back. We do see Gwen with a big ult to the backline here. Iman falls the Jinx. And that's potentially a triple kill for Jinx. No, it ended up being a double kill. 2 doubles and a single on the Cho'Gath. Or I'm sorry, on the Gwen. So that's a 5-for-1 and a dragon. Nah, I see pings on Baron here, so they might go after this Baron. While Casio looks like she is soloing this dragon, and with the Rod of Ages giving her health, she's going to be able to do that quite easily. So that is dragon and Baron going over the blue side as they've taken pretty much full control of this game. Now they're up by almost 10,000 gold here. So I do this Casio's been piloted very well by Sunfire here. 5-0-5. Just did anything he could to just get leads through CS, through just stable laning. And this Cassio is a massive problem to deal with. We see the Rileys coming out 5th here. And this Cassio now has 3,700 HP with a Seraph's Embrace shield on top of it. So, pretty tanky on the Cassio now. But now we see Gwen getting face checked by this Cho'Gath, but her Qs are doing quite a bit of work. Cho'Gath doesn't have really any MR at all outside of this Unending Despair, which I think is quite interesting. I think this is actually the team comp you want to build something like Force of Nature against. It does give you the movement speed you like, but it gives you increasing... Oh my goodness! I'll shut up. Holy shit, this Jinx just absolutely melted the backline here with Rune-ins and ult. So Jinx is online. Jinx Milio, that's a thing. Cool. Yep. This is a 5-item Jinx. If you count the upgraded boots here. Oh my word. Oh, this Jinx is just right clicking. And this looks like it's going to end up being the game here for Blue Side Squad. Jeez Louise, what an explosive ending. Especially with the Jinx Milio combo here. So, no, don't want to play flex. So, that ends up being a win for Red Side on the scaling comp. So we've seen the scaling comps do quite well in this week 1 here. We've seen a Acel Jinx comp pop off yesterday. And let me go ahead and show, the gold was fairly even until it started to blow open after what I believe was a dragon fight up top, or Otacon. Sorry. You see the stats, look at the graphs. Oh my word, that Jinx damage. Oh. Wowzers. So, that is a game 1 going over to BucketJonBets here. Sorry, my apologies. Look at this Jinx damage, 59,000. Oh lord, what damage. So, let's showcase the gold lead I was talking about. It was in this like area where there's an Otacon fight. Yeah, it was the Otacon fight here, where the blue side with the scaling comp starting to hit their items and their strides and never really looked back. Though they did have a fight that kind of lowered that gold lead a little bit, but then it just skyrocketed after that. So, oh, sorry, don't want to spoil that. All right, so let's go over the draft here. No one's seen that. Let's go over here to game 2 and showcase that real quickly while I pull up the replay on that. So we see UAFS took blue side here. First picked the Kaisa, and BucketJonBets ends up picking the Zyra Tristana. I know there has been a few junglers in the past playing Zyra, but we've also seen her go support a few times as well. So, really leaves the door open there on where she goes. But then UAFS pops out with the Fiddlesticks Alistar. Which Fiddlesticks is not a champion we see very often. I know there's a player in Group D. It's not really hard to tell who it is. His name's Fidsticks. He plays the Fiddlesticks in the support role. and that's his namesake there. But Fiddlesticks Alistar, like that's a pretty much a dive comp. Fiddlesticks can get the fear off, and then Kaisa dives into it as well. And BucketJonBets doesn't even try to leave the thought of the Zyra open. Goes over to Braum. And after that, after the second banning phase, you see it doesn't show the pick here, but it was in fact an Ari. So Sunflower ends up picking up this Ari here, and then you see Azir Camille. So not only some dive, but actually some self peeling and some scaling brought in with this Azir Camille and Kaisa. Like they hit the mid game pretty strong, but they're not no slouches in the late game either. And then you see in a counter to Camille, you see the Jax come out here. So let's go ahead and load this game up. I'm gonna move over to the gameplay here. And yeah, Sunflower showing off the nice Immortal Ari skin. So everything looks fairly standard. We do see Sunflower bringing the Electrocute on the Ari. Kind of curious to see what build he's gonna go. I think the 3 times we've seen Ari, sorry, 2 times. This will be the 3rd we've seen Ari. This split has been going for the Roa build. I don't. I think the Roa build's actually pretty good here for the most part.
30 seconds until
Like
minions
it's a lot of
spawn.
consistent damage instead of burst, so Ari has a chance of having really good reactions, getting out of it, and kiting back and forth in these fights. I will say, like Zyra jungle's not something we see too terribly often, but it feels really bad if you dive into a Zyra and you can't take her down before she presses her buttons, because diving into plants Zyra ult, she provides a lot of zone control and it's really difficult to walk in.
Minions have spawned.
We see Alistar here doing a really good job preventing Braum from getting in a deep ward. Doesn't want to show where Fiddle is going, though I think everybody knows that Fiddle starts on the Raptors. But Botlane says, okay, if you're not going to let us get vision, we're going to get prio early with this brush. We see 5 people taking Biscuit's runes. Okay. Biscuit's OP. You see Zyra clear pretty quick. So she's already going to be done with her first full clear and prep to gank before Fiddle even gets a second buff here. So an insane clear coming out of Ben on this Zyra here. Definitely bringing it back considering he got I believe, a late start last game on the Gwen. Nice 2v1 there on the gank. Predicted the Azir shuffle, held the charm. Once the snare got hit, then charmed him up, proc the electrocute. Get some really nice early game damage onto this Azir, as he's one of the people that didn't bring the biscuits, so felt like he needed to go back, get himself a nice TP. And it does in fact look like it's going to be the Roa build on Ahri. I think it's pretty respectable here. Did not have to burn TP off that back, so that's pretty big actually for tempo. She can trade some health here with Azir on a couple of trades, proc the electrocute, and then go back TP and have tempo over the Azir. Though the Azir should have pretty good early push on the Ahri. Early. I do think once Ahri gets like the blasting launch, you can 2Q the wave. That'd be pretty good there. We see the Dragoness came up here, and we see red side already looks like they're starting this dragon early here with the Zyra plant. So Zyra plant's getting used to the full effectiveness here on his first Drake. The very early 5.5 mid Drake. Sorry, I had to mute there for a sneeze. So, yet again, that is a Kim Tech Drake early. For the most part, doesn't do as most. Oh, we see an early level 6 coming out of Sunflyer here. Lanamzis. Oh, misses the charm here, which the charm lands. I think this Azir had to flash away. So, but Sunflyer ends up having a couple potions and biscuits here, so he can trade again the health for health. And we'll see what ends up happening here. Though we see the Alistar kind of coming around and gets spotted. I thought got spotted there, but didn't. See the Ignite coming out. Stun coming on the Alistar here. Alistar is pretty low here. Oh, we see the flash Q, but nothing happens. There, we do see red side trying to disrupt this Fiddlesticks, clearing the grubs, as both teams are now 1-1 on the grubs. And red team ends up getting the grubs here. We do see the Zyra plants kicking the hell out of Camille here. First blood goes over the Jax. Interesting flash coming out. But Zyra ends up taking out Fiddlesticks here. But blue side has the tempo to finish up the rest of this fight. There's a now kill going over to the Kai'Sa as well. She rotated up here. So the only person that wasn't really a part of this fight was the Tristana. And Tristana can take turret plates quite quickly with the bomb, as you can see. So she'll end up getting 2 plates down here, which actually I think is about as equal to the kill. So very nice here. We do see the Jax picked up a kill. Camille also picked up a kill. Zyra had a kill as well. Oh, nice charm. See, Ahri ult was just still on cooldown there. So I think if Ahri had ult there, he might be able to run down the Alistar. Alistar doesn't have flash. see a solo kill coming out for Jax here. And Jax picks up the feats of combat for his squad. See the Hex Flash getting turned away by the Alistar here. Fiddle now level 7. Let's see where this first Fiddle ult goes, because I think that kind of sets the tempo for the rest of the game. If Fiddle doesn't get the greatest ult, then I think it makes the red side feel really comfortable about this Fiddle pick. But if Fiddle gets off a good 3 to 4 man ult and can change the whole tempo of the game, man, you're on pins and needles for the rest of the game, trying to figure out where this Fiddle's at. Excuse me. We see Fiddle ends up coming out here, gets the fear, and silences. And like we said, that's a really good Fiddle ult to kind of break open this top lane. Gets another kill on the Camille, pushes the wave in. But Zyra now has setup with the bot lane having prio on this dragon. So it's going to be really hard to now walk into these Zyra plants if she gets another 30 seconds to set up here, as this dragon comes up in 35 seconds. But she's going to try and use the plants to farm over the wall here, take away some jungle. Sorry if I didn't mute that in time. But, you know, mid laners for the most part just trading farm here, nothing special. You know, you see red team now on this dragon. But blue side's okay with this, because here comes Fiddle again. That was an interesting spectator interaction. So, dragon goes over to the side of UAFS. I'm sorry, no, that is BucketJonBets. My apologies. But we also see with this top lane prio here, and them taking down the Jax. Now it looks like they're trying to turn here. As Zyra gets off a lot of her damage here, Ahri ends up picking up, finishing off the Fiddlesticks. But everybody's following this Tristana as she jumps away, and Iman ends up taking the kill there, following with the Kaisa ult. And so UAFS on blue side here ends up drawing a line in the sand, saying these are our grubs here. And yeah, they just get one grub, and they're good with that. So grubs are tied 2-2. So I'm surprised they didn't try to get the other two, because that gives them 4 grubs here. I'm not sure if they felt like they were losing tempo doing the grubs here, or if Fiddle just said, look, I can do them, try to get some waves pushing quicker for additional tempo. But that also gives Zyra a chance to walk into that area of the map here and potentially push back. We do see Alistar on the flank here. Okay, I was expecting you to go over to that, but they didn't. And Zyra ends up drawing this line in the sand, and that's 3-3 on grubs here. I think both teams would have been pretty satisfied with having 4 grubs, with one side having Tristana, the other having Camille. Well, Tristana and Jax, I should say. Nice spacing from Camille there. Didn't only soak up a few autos. Well, that's an interesting interaction. You put the Fiddlesticks effigy on the blast cone and then blast cone it over. That's kind of cool. Simulates him coming over the wall. So we see the duo lane is mid. Jax and well, Ahri looked like she was coming bot, but I guess Jax told her to nope, my lane. And so Ari had to burn TP to go top. So you see a little bit of a mismatch here.
Turret plating will soon fall.
So plates are going to fall here soon. We still have yet to see feats of strength go over to either team. I wish Riot would help with the interface to show that a little bit better. Oh, but we see Jax getting booted away by Azir, but then tries to flash back into his face, and Azir ends up still picking that kill. So Azir played that really, really well. I'm actually surprised that Ari didn't look to turn that around once the Camille shield fell off. I mean, she has no MR and used her only escape. If you ult forward there, I mean, your ult's back up before Dragon, and you can get flash out of Camille, which I think is pretty big. Oh, but we see the Fiddlesticks all coming out here. Nice punt back here by the Tristana, so well played for the side of BucketJonBets. But they still end up losing the Braum in that fight there in the mid lane here. Lots of pings coming around this Dragon area. Dragon is now up. Fiddlestick's ult will not be available for this fight. Zyra ult will be. Braum ult, no. Tristana ult, no. We see Camille kind of diving in here, followed up by Alistar with a headbutt pulverize. But we see Kai'Sa diving the backline here. Oh, and Tristana survives with just a little bit of HP. Has to burn cleanse on the Zyra snare here. Flashes away from Ari. And there's a double kill going over. I'm sorry, to Camille. Potentially a triple kill. Now, that is a triple kill. Going over to the side of Camille here. Now she is 5-1-3. Which is massive for this UAFS side here. Now they end up picking their first dragon of the game here in this Hextech drag. See, Casper's going to end up spawning topside here. And that comes up in roughly around 3 minutes, yeah. Which I think is what we're going to see our next big fight over. Maybe this Rift Herald as well. We'll see if either one of these two teams wants to pick up this Rift. So, looking up at the scoreboard, since now we got a little bit of a chance here. We see the side of UAFS up 11 kills to 5 and about 3,000 gold here. But we see Zyra starting up this Rift Herald, so it looks like they're going to get it. Again, neither teams have grabbed this feats of strength yet. Nice jump away by Tristana here. See a headbutt pulverize coming out of Alistar. But Alistar ends up giving his life for this. Oh, but a big, massive fiddle ult here just completely turns this whole fight. Double kill coming out of Azir. Double kill coming out of Camille. I'm sorry, single kill coming out of Camille. And a kill over to Kai'Sa. What a insane fiddle ult. to turn that fighter around. And first turret goes down as well. Neither one of these teams has the completed feats of strength. I think it's going to come down to epic monsters here, and there should be tied 2-2 with that, because I think the grubs were split. Neither one got like a full set of grubs. So you're going to see feats of strength not completed here until about the 20-minute mark, which is actually super long. But big props to this Fiddle pick. It's kind of had a little bit of a quiet early game, but this mid game's already put its stamp on a massive, massive fight here. See a potential pick on this. Jack's coming. Nope. I mean, Alistar is down there for quite some time here. Azir's just ends up poking away this Jax quite heavily. Went first item, Leandries, which is not something you see that often. Normally you see Nashers, but this Leandry's doing quite a lot of work here burning down this Jax. Kaisa avoids getting jumped on here from Meshire. They're doing their best. They're going to end up taking this bot tier 1 here. I do think Alistar being down here soaking up some experience is pretty big. It doesn't really get him like a big level upgrade like 11 does with the second point in ult. But I'm surprised with Alistar knowing that it's down there, that they don't try to set up for Otacon here, because they do take it quite quickly. Ari's going to have a completed Roa at that time, so the extra point into, I believe it's going to be W, or maybe even E, still going to be massive there. And we see now Zhonya's getting built by Fiddlesticks. He still needs a little more gold to complete it, but has the stopwatch component, which is pretty massive for this next fight. So we'll see what comes of some of these fights here. Kaisa going in, getting a little bit of a spell rotation. Jax having the TP top and saves this top turret. So now Azir has TP advantage. And this is going to end up being a 4v5 for this Hextech Drake. Headbutt out. They're going after this Zyra here. Decent ult here to reposition by Iman. Oh, but again, another massive Fiddle ult. Oh my lord. Back-to-back massive Fiddle ults. And that is an absolute team wipe. This is an ace 5 for nothing and a triple kill going over to Kaisa. Oh man. I guess the only good news coming out of this is it's fearless, boys. You ain't need to ban the Fiddle next game. see the 2 DPS carries now trying to knock down this Otacon. Himon almost actually dying to this Otacon here. And that is completed feats of strength going over to the side of UAFS Esports.
Just wait.
And for what has been like an insane amount of time, we actually see the Otacon getting taken and given off the GA buff instead of the boatload of blood petals here. So very rare that I've seen that Otacon. I honestly forgot it even existed. So really nice pickup for the side of UAFS. We see Camille all-ending this Jax here, but Zyra's on the bot side of the map to kind of protect him here. See if they can get a little bit of a siege going. But UAFS is using his tempo here to go after this mid turret. Again, this 4-man squad has GAs, so they might be able to full send on this inhib. Camille being at 2 items and Jack's at like 1.5. Really massive. Fiddle ulting over the wall here. Kind of full sending here, but Zonya's now. See Camille picking up a kill. Big Zyra ult that ends up taking down the Fiddlesticks. You see now that it ends up being a 5 for none as 3 members, I believe, are respawning at the base. Yeah, it ends up being 3 members, so it's a 5 for 3, but that might be the best use of the Otacon GA that I've seen. And the rest of the 2 solo laners are going to end up ending this game here. And what was a massive, massive win here early in the season for UAFF to even up this series. And really just a big showcase for Iman and a Girdle on this Fiddlesticks especially. Like, just absolute massive fights. I might have to clip one of those for a highlight. Man, that was insane. So let's move over to the stats here, as this was an insane, really entertaining and insane game to watch. But we've seen how this game started to blow open, but it was around, yeah, I think like this area where Fiddle got off a massive ult here, and I think it was a 4-man fear as well. So was really insane to see. So let's go ahead and go over to our draft for game 3, which I believe, yeah, this is the draft here. So BucketJonBets ends up taking blue side here. Sorry, let me pull this game up real quick. Alright, sorry about that. So, BucketJonBets ends up on blue side here, and after the first round of the bans, Lulu was actually left open. And so they first picked it. UASF reacts with a Nautilus Vi combo. And then Zeri Pantheon comes out, and UASF full sends the Samira. Okay, Iman, I see you as a Samira player now. It's not a pick we see that often in the league, and really in competitive. And with Lulu Polymorph, the alt knockup, and Pantheon. That is ballsy. But after the second round of bans, you see Lysandra coming in. So you see the Akali coming in. So this is a full-blown, like, in-your-face dive comp. You solo out, a target. You guys try to get resets on it and just pick them off quickly. And then BucketJonBets comes out with one of the premier, like, CC bots out of the mid lane, Lysandra, and then Poppy to stop the dashes. Not banning Poppy with Samira Vi up, I think, was was an interesting choice. I think that if you're going to start running these comps, Poppy needs to be off the table. If there's a Talia player, I think Talia kind of needs to be off the table as well. So really interesting to see the Poppy left open and ends up getting B5, but then UASF ends up picking up the Garen here. So interesting. I think Garen has really good matchups into Poppy specifically, but can hold his own in the Pantheon. We'll end up seeing where these champions end up going here for BucketJonBets. But really, really interesting draft. Like I said, pulling the trigger on the Samira is ballsy, especially early in the draft. So let's go ahead and load up this draft here. Let me switch scenes real quick. Yeah, Fiddle absolutely popped off that game. That was one of the better Fiddles I've seen. So that was really something to look at. It kind of reminded me of last year when Alves, one of the junglers, pulled out like Belveth and all of a sudden ran a game over, and you're like, oh, this is in his back pocket. Now we got to ban it. So it was really, really good performance to watch. So we see it is in fact the Garen top. There has been some Garen mid played in this league, and it ends up being Pantheon jungle Poppy top. So I think Garen's perfectly okay with that matchup for the most part. But I think centering the Poppy top lane means that the reason you picked her to try and be this anti-dash, anti-mobility champion gets kind of soloed out a little bit. She's not going to be grouping as much as, say, like a jungle or a support Poppy. So, interesting to see.
Choice is yours. Oh look, someone's going down. Go for a twirl. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
So we do see the Aerie coming out of Lysandra, so she's going to want to try and put pressure on this Akali. We'll see how that goes, as Kali is probably running Doran Shield second win. So honestly, the Aerie just gets negated from that in itself. Ooh. A big trade coming out of Sofa on this Garen here. Notice Garen did not bring TP. It's Ignite. It ends up getting the Ignite first blood onto this Poppy here. So Garen already putting his mark in this game here, as that ends up giving first blood over to UASF. Nice job by Nautilus here, landing the hook onto Zeri. And ends up igniting this Lulu after she took a little bit of damage here from Samira. But now we're playing the long game here. And this Lethal Tempo's got procced by Zeri here. And Iben ends up picking up that kill off the gank in the bot lane. So that's a kill going over. But we do see a Girdle ends up grabbing Ben here. Lulu shield comes out, and there's a polymorph as well. See if he can end up taking him out. He doesn't. Pantheon E comes out. And then Nautilus ends up trying to follow as well. And that ends up being feats of strength. Going over to the BucketJonBets squads. Which is massive. This Zeri getting 2 kills just accelerates her through this early game so much better now. She is, for the most part, a scaling champ. We see Akali ends up getting a favorable trade in Lysandra. Lysandra not known to being one of the best laners, but what her kit brings in the mid game with a boatload of CC is very, very useful into assassins. Like I said, she loses lanes to a majority of assassins, especially if they know how to space against her. But assassins also being able to bring stuff like D-Shield, Suck and Win, make it very, very hard for her to push out a lane and zone off CS. You see, the Akali's already got a 10 CS lead and trying to get a little bit of a freeze there going in mid. Zeri's so good. Zeri played it well. Kept the lethal tempo up. Now, you know, first back with a BF sword. It's quite a massive advantage here. I'll take your word for that one on Cleave. Nothing wrong with that. A little bit of support goes a long way. But we'll see if this Zeri can do their best to carry this game. I mean, definitely is put in the position to do so with 2 early kills. We see the first dragon going over to the BucketJonBets squad. We see Akali trying to get a favorable trade in, but gets ulted as the Pantheon came in and CC'd her as well. But she uses R1 and 2 to get out, along with the flash here. We see Garen pushing away this Poppy to secure all 3 grubs here, and well, Vi makes a pretty big escape with the Poppy ult. Garen's starting to get a decent trade here, but he looks to proxy here without vision of the jungler, and iBenge is here on Poppy, so he's doing his best to try and clear out this wave. And Poppy ends up getting the return kill here, so very interesting decision by the Garen. As I mean, you're already up 30 CS. Do you really want to proxy and give Poppy like free access to the wave? And they got a sight of Pantheon in the bot lane here. Now we see Garen trading a little bit here with Poppy, but we see a little bit of fight over vision on the bot side of the map here. Garen losing a little bit of health there again, trying the proxy, but this time they at least knew the Pantheon was bot side. Oh, but a nice hook there onto the Zeri here as Samir gets the ult off, but Zeri does a really good job getting away here. Iman almost falls to the Pantheon. Sorry, Lulu ends up taking her out. And the shutdown going over to Akali as she roamed down from mid lane here. So really, really well played on the side of UAFS to try and get this shutdown not only onto a carry, but dive in this bot lane turret in general. Now Lissandra TP's down, which I think is probably just TPing to get the way. No? Okay. That was a wasted TP. Now we see what looks to be a fight over the second set of grubs here, as red side has some early setup on it. But we see Sunflower ends up running out to it. Namzus follows with the Akali E. And Sunflower gets out, burning the self ult and flash. We do see one grub got picked up from blue side here, but there's still two left over. So UAFS looks like they've got the stranglehold on this area of the map. They get the grubs. We do see Nautilus hook end up entering. Akali ends up using R1 here. Now let's see if the R2 comes out. Still has R2 up, uses R2 to get out. And they do pick off the Pantheon, but there's not any cooldowns or any damage left over for the rest of the bot lane here of BucketJonBets. Lissandra, after getting pushed out of that fight, doing a pretty good job. Is clearing the CS, getting a plate from mid lane. Interesting, we see the Malignants. Nice W overall. Let's see if Garen continues pursuit here. I think he has no issues doing that. there's a Pantheon ult coming down as well. It looks like they want to turn this fight here, but the bot lane was going back up river, so see what happens there. You've got the S going over for Samira, but nice polymorph to stop the Samira ult. And we see a hook coming out here, ends up picking up on the Zeri here. Zeri ends up blowing the barrier here, and Lulu's shield comes out, and Zeri and Lulu are get away without costing their lives. Cost a bunch of cooldowns though. This is a first turret going over to the side of UASF as well. And a dragon, so both teams on one dragon, 6 kills. Gold lead is only about 1,000, roughly about 1,600 for the side of UASF. We do see a dive coming out onto the Lissandra here. Lissandra does have ult, but likewise we see an attack onto the bot side of the map where Akali was, and Akali ends up falling, which is a shutdown going over to the Pantheon. So really interesting decision to dive the Lissandra there, but nobody took any damage. We do see Pantheon diving up with Lulu to force the flash cleanse out of Emon there on Samira. So you see the Lulu ult coming out prematurely to get the slow and the knockup to kite away Garen. We see the bot lane going on to there. Vi ends up diving in, doesn't commit the ult yet, but gets zoned out here. And that ends up being a double kill going over the Lissandra, as UASF kind of postured for that fight, but then got punished by the BucketJonBets squad here. So that ends up being 3 more kills over to them, a 3 for none. The Rift Herald goes over to the side of BucketJonBets as well here. Looking at the items here, feats of strength have not been completed yet by either side here, but we'll see. This looks to be, this is not first turret actually. So it's going to come down to monsters here, as I believe they're both at 2 monsters. Nice attempt on the hook from Nautilus here. And top lane, there's a brawl now. But the 4v4 here in the bot lane. Pantheon jumps on to the Vi here, gets slowed by Lissandra. Flash ults it, and Vi ends up getting taken out here. Garen falling below half health here from this Poppy. This Poppy's pretty strong here. Ends up flash ulting, and it looks like might take out. No, it looks like the Garen gets away. Nautilus having to hook the wall to get away here. And Garen healed up enough health to tank the Poppy passive, the buckler. So Garen ends up getting pushed back from this Poppy. And the BucketJonBets squad are going to start up this dragon here. And that ends up being feats of strength going over to BucketJonBets. So they all already had tier 2 boots, so they get a free boost in some stats. I kind of, looking back at the draft, I seen what UASF wanted to do. You have Samira, Akali, Vi, Nautilus. Like, your 4-man squad there has a lot of go buttons and can pull the potential in the fights, but trying to get through Lulu, Lissandra, Pantheon to get to this Zeri. And even in this Zeri is really hard to get to, or get close to see it, to CC. Like, they haven't found much success getting to the back line. It almost feels like this is a pick comp with just too much pick. Because if these guys group, this comp just is really difficult to do anything to. Nautilus ends up hooking the Pantheon. He returns the stun here. Vi charging up. We see a flash forward from the Nautilus as he ults, but Zeri flashes away here. We see the E coming out to Akali, but we see Iman getting ult here. And a shutdown on the Lissandra going over, so we do see some fight in this the Esports comp here. And that's a shutdown going over to the Akali. So a shutdown on Samira, a shutdown on Akali. Gets themselves a little extra gold. And they have Otacon in their sights here. Even though Nautilus, you know, blew the flash ult onto the Zeri and didn't get much value of it, it did cost her to just jump away from this fight. Oh, and the polymorph comes out right before the Garen ult comes down. Oh, but the shield ends up coming out. See, Zeri's playing this quite well, has the lethal tempo going, but it ends up just trading Lulu ult and heal for Garen ult. And we do see Otacon going over to the UASF Esports team. Since we got a little bit of slowdown, well, I say that now. Now the top laners are brawling here. I see what comes of this. Is the Pengu just waddles away. But we do see 11 kills tonight here, and the gold is even between these two squads. 2 dragons to 1 in favor of BucketJonBets squad. Here we go. The top laners just trading abilities. But we do see the Pantheon roaming down here. We see red team is TPing Akali down as well. Pantheon gets a shutdown on this Garen as the Empowered Q did a boatload of damage. And we see Vi ulting in Zeri. Zeri gets Lulu ulted here. Let's see what happens here. Akali can't get to the back line. We see an ult on the Samira to zone her out. And that ends up being a boatload of kills going over to the side of BucketJonBets. And Akali ends up getting out as well. And the Pantheon just trades flash for flash onto this Akali. And it ends up being a 5-for-0 ace. And a big spike in the gold lead. What was even for the most part ends up now being a 3,000 gold lead in favor of BucketJonBets here. Nice Q here by Nautilus to knock it caught, but he still gets slowed. And now ulted here by Lissandra. And he ends up falling down now. So it's another pick for the side of BucketJonBets. And Baron Nashor just spawned. So let's see if they want to look at that here. We do got a 4-1 Zeri out on the field. And Lissandra wanting to show off that she's got Zhonya's, I guess. Luckily it wasn't a stopwatch, or that would have been a feels bad. So it's just honestly only really feels bad for about, what, 90 seconds? We see a shutdown going over the Garen as he just kind of chased Pantheon off of his buff. Vi ends up diving in and getting caught out. Akali ends up just getting out of that fight. Nautilus ends up landing the hook here, but I don't think he really needed to sacrifice himself. Akali was out. He ends up getting slowed, gets slowed again here. Iman not really able to do anything, or at least find any ways into this fight. I mean, the Samira has done quite well numbers-wise, but it just hasn't had the biggest impact on these team fights. And the Vi as well. Vi is like twice has ulted the backline and just couldn't do anything. Pantheon's up here trying to brawl with this Garen. Garen uses the face rush to get out. See Lissandra coming in, catching the Vi out, and they just end up blowing this Vi up. Akali TP's a supporter team, but can't really do anything. And again, this is just a chain of kills where Lissandra gets the jump on somebody, CCs them, and the rest of the team just blows them up. And this BucketJonBets squad is now looking at this Baron here, as now they have blown open this gold lead into a 5,000 gold lead. They're on Soul Point. They've got Baron. They've got a lot of control in this game so far. you see Vi jumping in here. Don't know if she was tempted to pull the trigger onto Poppy. Oh, well played by Namzis to kind of get out of that situation, as they ended up using the Pantheon ult. Here, let's see if Akali can still end up trying to escape the... Yeah, it looks like they've given up the chase on the Akali, but she's kind of cut the wave. Poppy ends up booting Nautilus away here. Iman taking a boatload of damage from this Poppy. And Iman ends up taking out... Poppy ends up taking out Iman here, zoning him away. Lissandra ult comes in big. Oh, but the Zeri's now involved in this fight. And that's a triple kill to Zeri. Zeri ended up coming in on the side, flashing in with the ult, and just pumping out boatloads of damage there. This looks to be potentially an end angle. Let's see. No, dead timers. No. No, I think this is a wise decision, not end. I mean, you've got the better scaling comp anyway, but you got Soul on the board. And this Soul being an air cloud Soul is absolutely massive. Because when Zeri pops this ult, she's going to be impossible to catch. It just feels like there's not enough threat onto this Zeri. Like, they have CC, but they just lack the follow-up damage. But I will say that the side of BucketJonBets has done really well, making sure that it's impossible for them to get to this Zeri. This is Nautilus getting caught out yet again here. This Poppy's now starting to win the side lane into this Garen here. That's a 4-item Zeri now. Zeri's absolute massive. 11-1 and 10. Zeri's actually purchased a Seeker's Arm Guard. This is pretty smart. Zeri does have a really solid amount of AP scaling, so purchasing something like a Zanya's is pretty useful, considering especially the other comp wants to dive in. If they ever find a way of actually getting into the Zeri, it's kind of game over. We see Iman getting zoned away by this Poppy here. Oh, and just virtually getting one-shot by this tank. That's cool. Pantheon ends up ulting in. Now you start to see, oh my goodness, that empowered W. And Namzis just gets blown up here. And this looks like it's going to be the end of this series, as BucketJonBets has a really, really impressive showing here against UAFS Esports. But I will say, like, it's best of 3 that went to 3 games. So UASF showed a lot of composure here, you know, come battling back after the loss game 1, and playing really well to game 2 to get a wins here. So both teams showcasing what they're capable of, and I think they're going to be really, really competitive as the season goes on here. But yeah, so that ends up being the win here for BucketJonBets. Let's look. Yeah, the gold lead was up and down up until blue opened here. In that 4-for-none team fight, or 5-for-none, I believe. But of course, Garen does moat damage. Who'd have thought that was gonna happen? But yeah, see the Samira pick. I love Samira, and I really love watching like good Samira players pilot her. But picking her so early in the draft and then not banning stuff like Poppy uh, is really ballsy, and it really allows you to get punished quite hard in the draft here. So, but like I said, all in all, really competitive battle for both teams here. I'm super excited to see what they do in the future. But I'm glad that they're part of the league. I'm glad we could get to showcase them. We seen, I think everybody really had some shining moments. We had the Fiddlesticks in game two that absolutely ran that game over. So, um, really good on them for that. So, but for all of those that tuned in, I see we got just a few viewers still in. Um, yeah. So happy to see you guys in here, and yeah, we'll make sure that this gets posted up to the YouTube video, and yeah, really excited to see what these teams do in the future. So thanks for the cast. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, man. So it was a banger series. It's the only series the first day of the split that went to 3 games. We love 3 games, banger type series here. So, but yeah, I'm gonna sign off here. I don't believe we have anything on the schedule for tomorrow, so you'll see us back Wednesday, casting some more action. I believe we have 2 or 3 games, and depending how I feel, I believe it's back to back. Let me pull up the schedule tab. Yeah, it looks like we've got. Sorry, we got Vibe Check versus Cal Poly at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have Happy Jellyfish versus Scorch at 8 p.m. as well, and KCA versus FF Wednesday at 10. So got 3 series on Wednesday. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you again next time.